Hello, I'm Mike Mulvaney, Mississippi State University, here with Science for Success. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about how fast we can plant soybean. So yesterday I had the opportunity to talk to several of the premier researchers in soybean extension throughout the country as part of the Science for Success team, and I asked them this question. I asked them to choose two of their top pre-plant decisions that affect yield potential in soybean. Not surprisingly, variety selection topped the list, right? We all know how important variety selection is for your region. You have to pick the right maturity group. You end up in a certain situation where you need a certain variety that's resistant to a particular disease. There's a lot of research effort that's devoted to variety selection. We have official variety trials in every land-grant state throughout the country. Variety selection, we all know, is important. Planting date is something that we don't typically think of as a management decision because there's really not that much that we can do about planting date. We can only plant so many acres so fast. But you can see, according to our premier soybean researchers, it's the second most important management decision pre-plant. But what can we do about planting date? How important is planting date? So here's some research that was conducted in Mississippi. You can see we've got planting date on the x-axis and we've got yield on the y-axis. You can see before an optimal planting date, we're scientists, we can put error bars around any value, and we do that. So April 20th turns into a window between April 10 and May 1. Prior to that window, we observe a yield loss of half a bushel per acre per day before you plant in that window. Outside of that window, we observe a 0.4 bushel per acre per day yield loss. Every day you plant late at $10 beans, that's $4 on every acre every day you're after May 1. Planting date is an extremely important variable, but what can we do about it? This is our typical situation in Mississippi. Everyone's heard of Mississippi mud. When it rains, and it's likely to rain in our optimal planting windows, we're likely to cut that 3-week planting window down to 1 week, which makes it even more important to get as many acres planted as quickly as possible. Here's our typical Mississippi planting progress. This is a 5-year average, and you can see by the time we hit that window on May 1, we only have about 45% of our acres covered. That leaves us a lot of room for improvement with the number of acres that we can potentially get planted. We have technologies now with advanced planting technology that will enable us to plant faster. So we've done a bunch of research, and I'm just going to show you some representative data that we typically expect to see through the results in our research and other researchers at the land-grant universities as well. Generally speaking, we expect to observe a stand loss at higher planting speeds. So here you can see on the left, we've got a mechanical planter planting at 6 miles an hour. And then as we move to the right, we've got our precision planter going at 6, 9, and 11 miles an hour. And you can see that we do observe some some stand loss as we increase our planting speed. That's commonly observed. It's not always observed, but I would expect you to expect that result if you start planting fast. Does it affect our yield? We've never seen it affect any of our yields so far. The thing is that we don't observe yield limiting plant populations until we find some value less than about 80,000 plants per acre. And so I would suggest you're not going to reduce your seeding rate if you're going to be planting faster, so that when you do reduce stand by planting faster, you're not going to be approaching those yield limiting populations. Okay? This, in our case, is an excellent value. We don't want to see yield loss as we plant faster. We do observe stand loss, but it's not affecting our yield.